Hey, do you have your W-2 yet? Well, today is the deadline for your employer to get that information to the Social Security Administration and to the IRS so that they can give it to you. It's not just that deadline, though. There's other deadlines, right, as the 2023 tax season really gets underway. What we want you to do is text in your questions right now about tax filing season. The number is 336-379-5775. Your question is anonymous, but you know what? Our experts will answer you in real time. We have with us Ryan Dodson from Liberty Tax Services, Kevin Robinson with Robinson Tax and Accounting. We're answering all of those tax filing questions for the next 15 minutes, so get that question in. All right, let's first and foremost talk about the deadlines. All right, so Kevin, let's talk about how we're talking about today, but then we're also talking about April.
Yes, Tanya, of course, today the deadline for 1099s and W-2s to go out from the employer, but keep in mind the deadline of April 18th, and that's our first filing deadline and actually payment deadline. Even with an extension past April 18th, all tax payments for 2022 tax year need to be paid and in by April 18th.
Okay, so those are the tax dates. We've got the tax dates. Let's talk about some smaller refunds. Okay, so Ryan, this is one of those things that you said a long time ago. Hey, people are going to be really shocked in 2023. Tell me why.
They certainly are, Tanya, and it's going to be a handful of reasons. The first one is the child tax credit. Hey, look, last year, because of the COVID stimulus, the child tax credit was up to $3,600. This year, it went back to pre-COVID rules, which is $2,000. In addition to that, you could deduct like up to $300 or $600 for charitable contributions, even if you weren't able to itemize on your taxes. That has gone away. And, you know, those are just a couple of items that have changed. The earned income credit is another one that has greatly changed. The dollar amounts in which you could qualify are greatly reduced compared to last year.
Okay, so this is all that smaller refunds. And then one last thing, maybe you don't have a kid and you're thinking to yourself, well, none of that applies to me. Your refund could be a little bit smaller because of the charitable tax giving that is not happening, that you're not allowed to write off. And what is that, Kevin?
Well, I mean, basically, I think as Ron had alluded to, that for people that weren't able to itemize, but they were actually to get an extra $300 charitable donation for cash contribution or $600 filing jointly, that's gone. So the only way they could save on charitable donations is to be able to itemize.
Right. So last year, each taxpayer got like $300 that they could write off. And so that is not going to be what is going on. All right. We've got a couple of questions here. This person says, me and my husband are on Social Security. He went back to work for a few months in 2022. Does he have to file, and do I have to file? Ryan, what do you think?
All right. So more times than not in the state of North Carolina, it's almost better to always file jointly. Now, whether or not you have to file, there is a wonderfully complicated formula that the IRS makes us jump through to determine if Social Security is taxable. And the basics of the formula is half of your Social Security plus the other income that you may have. And if that totals up to be more than like, $30,000 and a little bit more if you're married, then some of your Social Security becomes taxable. So the answer is just a real solid maybe, and it depends upon your situation, but bring it in. We'll let you know.
Okay, got it. All right, this next person says, if I've inherited money, not property, just money, do I have to pay taxes on that said money? Kevin?
Well, it would be based on what money they've inherited. For example, Tanya, if they just inherited, say, mom or dad's bank account, mom or dad's deceased, then the only tax on that, say that cash or checking account, would be the interest earned once they've inherited. But if it's something else, some other investment or something that they have inherited and they have to sell or it's sold, then that's possible. Depending on the gain, they may pay tax. But just pretty much assets, cash in the bank, money markets, things like that, unless something gets sold or there's interest income enough to trigger tax, then by and large they don't. But again, keyword, as Ryan said, it depends on the nature of that income they've inherited.
Okay, gotcha. So this is a good question. I mean, you both are people who do taxes. So, I mean, that's where you come at it from, like, hey, we're professionals, we do this. But this person says, how do you determine whether or not you need a professional to do your taxes or not?
So fantastic question. And so, if you would ask like my wife, what triggers her, she's like, tax laws change every single year and I don't want to keep up with it. And that's the reason why she would go to a tax professional. Some folks are like, hey, look, I think I can stay on top of these rules, and they would much rather, file one on their own. It just really comes down to the comfort level of you, is whether or not you feel comfortable doing that tax return. And look, the vast majority over the last 30, 40 years, somewhere between 58 and 63% of all tax returns that are filed are with the paid professionals. So that means, a good solid almost 40% of folks choose to do it on their own.
All right, let's talk about how you should do it. What is the best way actually to do your taxes, whether someone does it for you or not? Is it e-file or is it paper, Kevin?
Well, that's a good question, Tanya. And as we talked before coming live on the show here this afternoon, e-filing is really the very best way, unless there's a valid reason not to e-file. It's quicker, it's safer. Your refund, if you do a refund, it will get into their bank account quicker. So e-filing is the fastest, most safest way to file versus the snail mail and through the mail, which can take quite a while for a refund or for the documents to get there.
All right, and speaking of refunds, Ryan, you said you have people who already got refunds.
Yes, we do, Tanya. Folks that have already have all their documents. They have all their documents. There's nothing from stopping them to file, and they're coming in and they're able to file their refunds. And sure enough, the IRS started sending out refunds this week.
Wow. Okay. All right. We've got more of your text questions, so don't miss this opportunity. 336-379-5775. We'll be right back.